So last time we started talking about the verbs conjugation, right? So this is where the book is giving you a lot of different conjugation based on the pronoun. To be honest with you, it was almost complete. I'm not quite sure why they did not give you the third person pronouns. So that's fine. That's not a problem. But at least we know one of the third person, which is hua. So and remember, I mentioned to you many times that this hua form of the past tense it's what is the closest to the root. So whatever letters you have in the hua form, third person singular, they are part. All the letters are part of the root. Okay, so that's where we started. So I think last time we were doing a dhahika. Another thing I don't understand why they choose this verb dhahika, because that's quite hard to pronounce and also go through, but nonetheless, so we have done dhahika, that is huwa dhahika, he laughed, and then we did all the permutations of the pronouns. So now the way I think, honestly, at the end of the day, I mentioned to you many times, some of the, especially that has to do with the verb, anything that has to do with vocabularies, right? It's something that you really have to sit and work on your own, like memorize it or understand, what you need to do. But what I can advise you, you can first group the ones with the ta, especially I'm talking about the madi, the past tense, right? The past tense. So you have to know at this stage, guys, you have to know your ta, all the what is tu, what is ta, what is ti, and what is taut sukun. Okay, I just hope this is not an issue. Any verb, you should know how to conjugate and what it does. If I say qara'tu, you need to know what did I say, if you know the verb qara'a. If I say katabtu or katabta, so you have to know all of them, right? So you can, this is one way of getting at least four of them, out of the way. The second one would be the na, nun alif na, which is for the, first person plural, we. So we as a group of female, or we as a group of male or mixed, doesn't matter. We would be saying na. So katab na, zahab na, qara na, dahik na. Okay, so if you do this much, so look how many of them you have covered. Then you have covered what? You have covered all this much. The rest, what they give you has to do with antuma and antum. Okay, you just add tuma, just like the pronoun itself, antuma, and you just add the tuma at the end. Dhab tuma, katab tuma. We'll do a lot of exercise because the book actually wants you to do a lot of exercise. So that's would be third step, and then you learn the antum, the hiktum, and then antunna, the hiktunna. I'm not going to talk too much more about the Madi right now because we will be doing some exercise in the next page. So I will just go to the Al-Mudare, which is the present tense. So the Madi was the past tense and Mudare would be present tense. Now we have Al-Mudare. Mudare is the past tense, present tense. Now, the past tense are quite easy because all the conjugations we do is at the end. We just add suffix. There's no prefix, right? But the mudare gets tricky because we have to deal with both prefix and suffix. Okay, and a lot of these things we already talked about. So let's just get the main one. So we have dhahika was the past tense. So do you remember how do you say he is laughing in the present tense? At this point, we should really be comfortable with the prefix of the present tense verbs. Okay, there are prefix, and I give you many different times. Anaitu is uh, how you can memorize these prefixes. So you have hamza, you have noon, you have ya, and you have ta, right? So if we were to say the dhahika and the present tense would be yadhaku, yadhaku. Right. And we already talked about some of the ways we do, like, at the end we get a dhamma and these patterns, right now, I am not going to go through all these patterns and what happens, especially for mudare, because these are the things I'm pretty sure we have discussed. And honestly, uh, not that useful at that stage. At that this stage is just, when you repeat few of the verbs, you know what to do. You don't have to think about these things. Okay. Jayed. So now, what do we do with ana? Ana is the first person. So only thing we do is we add hamza. Adhaku. Just make sure at the end, if there's no suffix, we are adding dhamma. And what about the past tense? If there's no suffix, we add a fatha. So we have adhaku. And same thing is for muannath. Both mudakkar and muannath. Mudakkar is masculine, muannath is feminine. So for both of them, we add hamza. Adhaku. So then how do we say we are laughing? As you guys mentioned, it is noon. We just change the first letter. I've mentioned to you many times, every present tense must start with one of these letters. That's why they are called huruful mudare. They are the letters of the present tense. If they don't exist, this is not your present tense. Impossible, right? So make sure you understand, because remember what I mentioned, this is the root, and you will always find the root letter somewhere inside, somewhere in there in the word, and you have to have the huruful mudare before these the start of the root letter. Now, so only thing we are doing at this point is that we are changing the first letter. So nadhaku, okay, nadhaku, that is for we. And then so how do we do you? For masculine we say tadhaku. Only thing we do, again, so far very simple, we're just changing the first letter. Adhaku, nadhaku, tadhaku. Okay, this also means you, it also means she. Okay, it's not harm to know this, we already know this. Now in the recent lesson, we are also learning how to say you to a feminine. So we have tadhaku for you as a masculine, and we say tadhakina for you as feminine. So this is something you should be getting used to it. Okay, remember this book, what it does, it gives you, throws few words or few rules here and there just to confuse you, not to confuse you, that's not the word, just to get you warmed up. It just get you used to some complex grammar that will be coming, or ruling that will be coming, and then later it will give you more information. So this is one of them. We started with the verb tasbihina. Okay, tusbihina. So now we have tadhikina. So what we do is very simple. We're adding ya and nun. Tadhakina, we have to have a kasra, and of course you will get a sukun, and we have nun and fatha. Make sense? We'll do more exercise. Let me quickly go through this. Now, so for the next set of pronouns that we have is the dual second person, antuma, and the plural second person, antum and antunna, right? So what happens, guys, this is where you'll really appreciate present tense, because I told you present tense are a little bit tricky because you have to deal with both suffix and prefix. But here you will appreciate why do you think it's easy? When we say dual antuma, why do you think this is it's fine? No, okay, yeah, that's good. You're looking at these two, they're same, but so was for the past tense. But why do you think tadhakani should be a little bit easier? Hmm? We've seen this conjugation before, didn't we? Hmm? Where did we see this conjugation? No, okay, so because this is very similar to something, not the verb. It's very similar to what? Nouns. How do we say, yes, how do we say two boys, two pens, two books? That's the exactly same, Ani. And believe it or not, that's why the present tense is called mudare. I think I mentioned to you in different class. Mudare means similar. Mudare doesn't mean present tense, but we use in the context of present tense. Mudare means it's similar. And it is similar to who? It's similar to the nouns. It's not only because this similar, another similarities is that since I mentioned it, if I don't say it, you guys will get confused. Another similarities is that noun declines, right? It means it has dun, dan, din, it changes at the end, right? We have Muhammadun, Muhammadan, Muhammadin, right? We do this. This is the whole Arab of the noun. But the verb, by default, it does not decline. It doesn't change. It's always same, except for the present tense. So you will see when we study, remember, I think you guys already have seen it. When we say an, uridu an, what did we say? Again, this is completely side, and I don't know how I jumped all the way here from that, but since I mentioned it, I'll just clarify or clear out what I'm trying to say. So when you say adhabu, so remember, we also got a verb, uridu. What is uridu? Hmm? I think we just got it recently. If you, I want, excellent. So we have, in English, we don't say I want, I go, or I want to go. What do you say in English? We say I want to go. In Arabic, we also need this two. This two is an. Here's what we mean by that the verb's ending also changes. It was Dhamma before, but what happens when the an comes? We've seen this. The reason why I'm spending a little bit time here, because we've seen it, but we are not studying it. When you say, we say an, this ending will change. Yes, it will become mansub. It will get a fatha. Okay, just like how we've been dealing with the nouns. Okay, because now we've been changing the ending all the time. It keep on changing, right? From dhamma to fatha to kasra and all those things. So this is something that also happens in only on the present tense, not on the past tense, not on the command verb. And that's why they call it mudare. It is similar to the nouns, such that its ending, its grammatical ending also changes. And also we can also see that it also has the similar conjugation for the dual as well, just like the noun. Kitabani, tadhakani. Okay? Tadhabani. You get it? Now, so if you can put all of these thoughts together, or put them together, and I think hopefully this will be easy for you to conjugate for the second, at least. Only thing we're doing, just like the noun, we're adding alif and nun, nothing else. Alif and nun. Okay, so we'll do another example just to make this one clear. We say tadhabu. Okay, we say tadhabu. How would we say tadhabu means what? You go for masculine, right? You go for masculine. So how would we make it you too masculine going? You too. Tadhabani. Excellent. Is the same thing that we did. Qalamun. We say qalamani. You see? Same. We have the same alif and nun. Jayyid. So that's what's going on. And same thing for both masculine and feminine. Okay, so ani is for antuma, and antuma, just like for mudhakkar and muannath, we are doing the same thing for the verb as well, for the present tense as well. And it gets more interesting because when we make it into plural, we also see something very interesting. Our famous waw and noons coming back. Who can tell me what was the waw and noon? Where did we see waw and noon? Where did we see waw and noon before? Plural, yes, the sound plural. Remember the sound plural? Yes, muslimuna, exactly. When you say Muslim, this is what? This is masculine. I'm not talking about muslima. Okay, this would be feminine. So here you cannot add waw and noon. Anybody remembers what you add? Yes, so exactly. So well, not only ta you close, but we also need alif and ta. Okay, now, but what we do for the masculine to make it plural, indeed we add waw and noon, and this is the waw and noon we're looking at it. Okay, so number one, antum is a masculine, and it is a plural. You get it? So that's why we are adding, and you will see, you will see, he did not show you. I'm gonna tell you actually, to be honest with you, this is not only for the second person. This wow noon is also for the third person. So this, they're not teaching you, but it's not, it doesn't harm to show you right now. So when I say uh, uh, tadhabu, okay, if I say it's a second person, okay, this is masculine, right? Because we know how to say you go for the feminine, it will be tadhabina. So in order to make masculine into plural, we add wow and noon. Masculine meaning second person. In order to make second person masculine, we add wow noon to tadhabu. So we have what? We have tadhabuna. Yes. So what is the third person singular? Hmm? What is the third person singular for the same verb? Yeah, yes. So yadhabu. So now how do you think we will make it third person plural? That same wow and noon. You get it? So you'd be what? Yadhabuna. Yadhabuna. So makes sense, guys? So ani is a dual and the plural are just coming exactly like the nouns. So inshallah, this will be easy. Now what happens? Now we have antunna. Antunna is for the you plural feminine. So the context is every one of the second person are feminine. So what do we do? We say tadhakna. So here we add just the noon, this noon. Okay, and when we study a little bit more grammar, you will understand this noon has different functions and this and then. It's not important right now, but here's what you do: you just add a noon with fatha. Okay, tadhabna. So when you say tadhabna, you're talking about a second person, feminine, plural, all these things, right? So I'm just trying to give you, explain you things, but guys, at the end of the day, these things has to be memorized. I just don't see any other way. It has to be memorized, okay? So any questions from here? So just to quickly recap, so for the first part, remember we just to make it easy, we divided the pronouns into some parts. The first part is all you're doing is changing the suffix most of the time, which is the ana. Adhaku, for plural first person, you say nadhaku, we are laughing, both masculine and feminine. And for you masculine, you say tadhaku. And here's the thing, you feminine singular, you say tadhakina. Okay, tadhabina, taqra'ina, then takulina, taktubina. This ina, you have to get used to it. Got it? And for the duals, it's just like the nouns. You add alif and nun. Tadhakani, tadhabani, taqra'ani, okay, taktubani. And same thing happens for the plural in a sense that we do the same trick or same ruling from the noun. We add wow noon. Tadhakuna, tadhabuna, taqra'una, taktubuna, una, right? Now, and then for the plural, second person plural, feminine, you add noon. Okay, tadhakna, tadhabna, taqra'na, taktubna, hakada. Make sense, guys? Now, and that's why, to be honest with you, just think about, after all these times that we have spent with this book, with the verbs, long time ago, we probably got few mudare, then maybe a little bit of ta, then noon, then uh, ina, tadhakina. All of these things we've been getting for the last, at least, if I look at the, not the units, but look at the lessons, at least 10 lessons plus, we've been dealing with the verbs little bit by little bit. Even so, when we put all of the things that we learn in one page, it gets really, there's a lot of pressure. So now what? Now comes al-amr, which is the command verb. Now this is I remember one of the lesson long time ago. I did explain how we conjugate the command verb. I'm gonna go through it again, but this is something again you have to memorize a couple of verbs, and then those rules will help you. Without really memorizing anything, these rules, okay, fine, you know it, but you won't be able to quickly, conjugate. You have a verb and you quickly want to make it into command verb. If you don't have anything on your tongue, you won't be able to just think about the rules and cross this, add that, put sukun there, fatha, hamzatul wasl there. It's just too much. By the time this conversation is over. Now, so command verb. Uh, command verbs are very interesting in a sense that there are two types of command verb. The one that we're talking about, it is the second person. Okay. Second person command verbs are the most common verbs, because obviously when you're commanding someone, that person has to be in front of you. If you cannot command yourself. I mean, you could, but this is not the second person. Most of the time the commands are given to a second person. Do this, walk, sleep, eat. How do I tell Muhammad, who's not here, and command him, eat, and he's not here? So those kind of commands are, even in English, it's a little bit different. In Arabic also different. Okay, so for example, in order to say, tell something to Muhammad who's not here, or he, then in English, what do we say? If Muhammad is not here, do you say Muhammad eat? He's not here. If you say Muhammad eat, Muhammad go, what does it mean? It means he's here. Exactly, we say he should eat. That's what it is. In English, we have to add he should. Okay. So this in Arabic, we also have a ways, we'll learn inshallah, but not in this lesson. We can command third person or even the first person, but not directly. So we're not concerned about this. Most of the direct command happens in the second person, and that's what we are interested about. And if I remember, I think we had not many command verbs, but we have had command verbs in the past, and I think most of them were just the second person singular, right? So I'll just give you a quick rule, and then we will do this thing. The rule is very simple. Command verse number one rule is that, let me see if I can write somewhere. Number one rule is that start with present tense. Okay, you start with present tense. So second is that you're starting with present tense, but which, there's so many present tense we learn. We learn ana, anta, nahnu, so many things. You have to know who are you addressing. Are you addressing one singular second person? Whatever the pronoun, you will be picking that present tense verb from here. Okay, so I'm going to, let's say right now you're going to be making a command to the second person masculine. Okay, so which one you pick? You pick this one. So you say tadhaku. Let's say this is your starting point. Okay. Or let's say you now you want to tell everyone in front of you, there's a mixture of male and female, and you want to command them something, like do something or read something. Which first give me which pronoun would you be looking at? Of course, antum, right? So now you will be starting with that present tense verb. So if you're addressing all female second person, you'll be starting with tadhakna. You get it? If you're this is your starting point. That this is not command verb yet. It is your starting verb, because we have to start from the present tense. Then the question is which present tense verb? Depends on who are you addressing, who are you commanding. If you're commanding singular masculine, you will start with that one. If you're commanding singular feminine, then you say tadhakina. That would be your starting point. Okay. Now, now let's say we are going to start with singular masculine, and we want to tell them to go. So what is the present tense for singular masculine? It would be tadhabu, right? So you pick the present tense verb of the person you're addressing. So what do you do next? Next step, what I'll do, I'll just say this is a step one. What do you do next? Next step is that you are trying to make it into command verb. This ta that you have, this ta, meaning the first letter, only belongs to who? It only belongs to present tense. So you remove that. So remove uh, uh, present tense letter, which is basically the first letter, right? Present tense letter, first letter. Okay, this is your second step, meaning you remove the prefix. Okay, so great, I remove the prefix. So we have dal sukun and we have rest as we had before. So this is what we left with after doing the second step. And then when we make it into command verb, what we have to do is we have to put a sukun at the end. This is not the best way of saying it. The proper way would be like, we make it into majzum. But anyway, this is a little bit advanced. Bottom line, we want to put a sukun here. Okay, so what we do, okay, second, we put a sukun. So what do we have so far? We have a dal with sukun, we have ha with fatha, and ba with sukun. Remember, these two we have not touched. Only thing we did is we removed the first letter and we added the sukun at the end. Sukun at end. Now the fourth case is that we try to see if the first letter starts with any haraka or not. Haraka is like fatha, dhamma, kasra. If it does, your job is finished. If it's not, then you have to add hamzatul wasl. So what is the case we have? We have words starting with sukun, and in Arabic, as you know, I've mentioned it many times, that is not allowed. We cannot start with a sukun. So what we do to help us, we add hamzatul wasl. Okay, so I'm going very slow. I'm not sure they're super helpful or not. This is just for FYI, just for your information at this point. But honestly, when you study advanced grammar, they will go even more in details, what's happening, what letters, there's lots of discussion how this thing works. Okay, so now we have this situation. But what do we do with hamzatul wasl? We have to put a haraka. The only reason this hamzatul wasl is here is because we need to put a haraka. So what haraka do we put? We have option fatha, dhamma, or kasra. So the default is kasra. Default is kasra. Only time you would put dhamma, who remembers? I think I've mentioned, only time you put a dhamma, by the way, there will not be fatha in hamzatul wasl, right? So it will only either be a dhamma or kasra, but the kasra is default. Okay, so meaning, most of the time it would be kasra, but only time it would be dhamma is when, okay, ayn of kalima is dhamma. Yes, what is the ayn of kalima? What does she mean by that? This is a grammatical term. I'm not going to go too much in detail. Basically, the first one they say fa, second one they say ain, and the third root letter they say lam, fa'ala. Okay, so this is what they mean by ain. Ain means basically the middle letter. Okay, if the middle letter has dhamma, then your hamzatul wasl gets dhamma. Otherwise, whether it has fatha or kasra, your hamzatul wasl would get kasra. Okay, so here it is a dhamma. No, it's not a dhamma. It's a fatha, so we stick with our asl default. Idhab. All this talk, all we did is make it into from tadhabu to idhab. Tadhabu to idhab. You get it? Makes sense, guys? Just to give you a one here where we will put a dhamma, it will be taktubu. So taktubu. Okay. So taktubu means you write. What's going to happen if we follow our rules? We remove the first letter, then we have we put the sukun at the end. Okay, so we have kaf with the sukun, ta with the dhamma, and ba with sukun. Okay, I'm combining everything, the 1, 2, and 3, all steps it at once, which is I'm sure you guys will be able to do very soon. And of course, we have a sukun. Then the fourth one is a little bit tricky because you see whether it has sukun or not. Okay, it has a sukun, so we need hamzatul wasl. Now what do? We have to put dhamma because our third letter, the middle letter, not third, sorry, the second letter, the middle letter has a dhamma. So we say uktub. Here you cannot say iktub. You say uktub. Okay. So now to give you another example, when we don't need the Hamzatul Wasl, when we don't need the Hamzatul Wasl, again, I'm going a little bit, I don't know why I do this sometimes, just drag the conversation long. So, but I think it's important so that you see all of the scenario at once, so you will understand why these things are important, what's going on. So let me give you an example where we don't need the Hamzatul Wasl. So let's look at the verb wajada. Wajada, it's to find, right? And what is the present tense? Yajidu. What is yajidu? Yajidu. Wajada yajidu. Yes. So meanings he finds. Now, who can tell me the present tense second person singular for this verb? You find. Tajidu. Excellent. So only thing is very simple. We just change this one. We said tajidu. Okay, now let me do all step 1, 2, and 3 at the same times. What was the step 1? You remove the ta, I did it, and then you add the sukun at the end. I did it. I did it. Okay, so I don't do anything else. So I removed this. This is gone, and I put sukun here. See, I'm not touching this at all. So what do you find? You find that the first letter has a haraka. So I don't have any problem. Why would I bring Hamzatul Wasl here? I mean, the only reason we're bringing Hamzatul Wasl because when every time we do this, we keep on getting a sukun at the beginning, Here, that's not the case. We're not getting the sukun. We're getting a haraka. We're getting a kasra. So do I bring Hamzatul Wasl? Absolutely not. So what do? Nothing. You're done. Jid. Okay. Find. Jid. So this would be, you're done. So that's what we mean by the fourth step. Meaning, just don't add Hamzatul Wasl if you don't need to. Make sense, guys? So, yes, qala, exactly. Qala, why is it? Because qala, and what is the present tense? Yaqulu. The first letter in the present tense verb doesn't have a sukun. So you know it will not need hamzatul wasl. Now, excellent. So you do understand, you do realize that all of this thing we've done is only for this one, you masculine. So the concept, I'm just thinking how easily to explain this without going into very detailed, discussion about the grammar. Let's say we want to do second person feminine, anti. Okay. So what is the second person feminine present tense verb for dhahaba? This one I need from you. Tadhabina. So we say tadhabina. Tadhabina. Exactly. Excellent. Tadhabina. Yes. So this is the verb we are starting with. Why? Because I am trying to command a second person female. I'm trying to command her not to do something or to her to go somewhere. So this is where I have to start. I have to start with the present tense verb. Great. I start with the present tense verb. So as if I remember correctly, what I have to do is I have to remove the first letter. So let me go through the whole thing again. Okay, so I remove the letter, and this is what I'm left with. And the second step was to put a sukun at the end. And here what we'll have is the problem. If we add a sukun at the end, two things happens. Number one, first of all, we have two sukuns anyway. This is one problem because remember, this ya has a sukun. So we'll have a two sukun. Second thing you have to know is this ya and noon. This is not part of the what? This is not part of the root letters. We're adding sukun to the root letters. We're not adding sukun to something that is suffix, because suffix is something else. So for this, the way we deal with this, as I said, two ways you can look at it. One is that if we put sukun, we will get into trouble because we will end up having two for all of them, almost all of them. If we put sukun here, we have a problem because ya has a sukun. If I put sukun here, we have a problem. Alif has a sukun. And if I put sukun here, what? Waw has a sukun. So we'll have a problem either way. Every one of them we put sukun, we'll have a problem. This is one way of looking at it, that the sukun is not going to work. Second way of looking at it is that we cannot put sukun because these are not the part of the letter, the root letter itself. These are additions. So we cannot touch something, or we can only alter the verb itself. In noon and alif and noon, they are not the verb. They are just a separate suffix that we're adding. So we cannot alter that. So what do we do? So with all this talk, simple rule for now is that in this situation, we have to remove the last letter of that suffix. Whatever the present tense you have, you just remove the last letter. So you had tadhakina. After adding hamzatul wasl, you say idhaki. This noon is missing. It's instead of saying tadhakani, you say tadhaka. What happened? Only thing we did is we remove the noon and letter. Same thing goes here, and same thing as well for here. Tadhakuna. Now you want to say, a lot of people that stop laughing too much, you say idhaku. Okay, what happened? The noon is gone. There's no noon. Okay, this alif I'll explain later, but the main thing is this alif is only for the writing. It is not pronounced. It is just there for different purpose. But the main thing is that we don't have a noon. We're dropping the noon. Okay, except for this one, and I'll talk about this one in a while. But before I go there, do you understand what's happening here? It's called dropping of the noon. Okay, and it has the whole different sections in Arabic grammar. Sometimes they say afalul khamsa. So whatever they term is, see, I don't want to bore you with all of these things, but right now this is at least what is happening. For these things, we're just dropping the noon, and then that's all. Make sense, guys? A lot of rules. That's why that's why you guys want rules. Once you talk about rules, things get very complicated. In the book only thing book wants you to do is memorize. But to be honest with you, even if you say to memorize, in order to do for the other verbs, you kind of have to know what's happening. These are the things you have to do it, whether book wants to tell you or not. If you don't know, you cannot conjugate. Then the issue comes at the end. We have to make it into a either a sukun, or we'll drop the noon. Okay, you can think of sukun or drop the noon. Makes sense? Before I wrap up, what I want to explain to you about this alif, there's nothing to explain, guys. It just for now, this is the rule. The rule is that for the verb, there always has to be alif at the end for the plural, even for the past tense. We will talk about this thing. Just know that when you see something like that, you will always know this is a verb, because what happens sometimes, noun also have waw noon. Remember, we just talked about muslimuna, and noun also removes the noon sometimes. So if both of them remove the noon, and we have some verbs and some words can be very confusing. So basically, just know that for the verbs, when you remove the noon, you have to put this alif. Make sense? So this is the only thing that you have to know from here. And the last thing what you have to know is that this form, this antunna, this noon is one of the strong noon, meaning this noon will never change. You cannot alter that noon. Okay, so there's nothing you cannot change the haraka, nor can you remove it from it. So when you have like for antunna tadhakna, so you have to keep this noon as it is. It is mabni, meaning it's fixed. This noon will never change. So inshallah, we'll learn a lot more about this noon as time goes. But right now, just know that when you see this noon for the antunna or hunna, both of them, basically the noon of plural feminine, antunna and hunna. Whenever we have this noon, you'll see the verb gets a noon at the end. That noon is your strong noon. You cannot remove it. You cannot change it. Okay, so that's all I wanted to explain. If it's really complicated, please rewatch it or watch with some other notes or other YouTube video. However you get, just make sure you understand. My main concern is that understand how to conjugate the command verbs, because now they're they are making a requirement for you. Before they weren't giving you a lot of pressure on these things, but right now looks like the books expect you to conjugate some of the verbs.